This is a rabbit track. I know this.
What's the best old movie that you've already seen that you rewatched recently that you love? Does that make sense?
Rewatched recently?
An old movie you love that you just rewatched.
I haven't rewatched an old movie in a minute. I watched Jules and Jim for reaction shots. Didn't like it.
Jim.
That's Matthew Walden's favorite movie of all time.
Oh.
He has a tattoo. Our
shit.
assignment was to watch Jules and Jim.
Yeah.
Here we go, baby.
I've done for my family.
There's one.
For the last 10 years, all I've done was kill.
There's
I
two.
killed for my family.
Vito.
Killed anybody that got in my way.
Scaletta. And here's three. Here comes Lincoln. There he is. Incredible performance.
Is who you die for.
So
Whoa,
sick.
that's a good line. Family, dude.
Family. Fuck yeah.
MafiaGame.com.
I'm so ready. I'm so ready. Tommy Angelo hype.
What's up, Boston? How are we this lovely Thursday
Whoa,
morning?
Greg Miller.
Is that Greg? It's like, oh, okay, it's Greg.
Boston, you can do better than that. I said, how are we? At least that second time got the Ghostbuster to yell. He still didn't clap. He yelled, though. I appreciate that. You want to clap for me?
Ghostbusters
Stand up
ready.
and clap right now. All right, everybody be more like the Ghostbuster. What's up, everybody? Welcome to your Mafia,
There's
the
just a
old
Ghostbuster there, I
country
guess.
PAX East panel. My name's Greg Miller from Kinda Funny Games. And who's been to a PAX panel before?
I have. We've had a
lot of you
PAX
raised
panel
your
before, if I
hands.
recall.
That means you've been to bad PAX panels, all right? Today's about energy. You get to see stuff from the game that no one's seen.
Say what you
You
will
get
about
to
Greg
hear
Miller.
straight from the developers.
Great
That's
guy, love him.
exciting.
Hell yeah.
So when
he
you see
can
or
run
hear
a
something you
he can
like,
run
I
a
need you
fucking
cheering,
panel.
all right?
Oh, yeah.
3, 2, 1, go!
Yeah, I'll do it for you,
And
Greg.
when you hear something you don't like the game's delayed, you boo.
Boo,
But the
2026.
game's not actually delayed.
Yeah.
Like to see everybody.
What if the game is
we're gonna
delayed?
have
They're like,
we're gonna have some spotlights with the developers, and then we are going to get to pick the brains of Hangar 13. But before
Hangar
all of
13.
that,
Hangar
let's watch
13.
some really cool videos, okay?
Plural.
Sick. Intense violence, blood, and gore
Intense.
suggestive themes.
Violence.
Here we go.
Come in.
Here we go. Contains gameplay footage captured in engine and cinematics.
This world, Enzo. Loyalty,
And this Enzo, the baker.
obedience.
Yo,
They set the man up.
this town, dude.
These missions already.
But this matter is not yet resolved.
I like these
Dude.
Will you help me
stringed
bring it to a
instruments.
close? Of course. Thunder easy.
Little stealth action.
Hell
here?
yeah. Yo, good kill. Feel the kill.
Uh-oh.
Yo!
The jig is up, dude. Knife toss. Ooh.
Oh, sick fire. Uh-oh.
Oh, damn.
Uh-oh. Racing Vision flashbacks, chat.
Yo, this driving looks intense.
The driving is
quick.
super realistic in
Yeah.
Mafia. Oh my god, these environments.
Yeah, this is great.
Uh,
This country looks so old.
Lupara.
Horsies, dude?
Yeah.
Red Dead over here.
Switchblade.
Good at it. Yo, this looks sick.
It looks so fucking good.
Ooh!
Oh!
Oh, he almost had you.
Hey everyone, I'm Nick Baines, president
Hi.
of Hangar 13. We hope
Nick,
you
I'm
enjoyed this
so
new look at
excited.
gameplay in Mafia: The Old Country.
We're on
just
board,
3
Nick.
short
I'm
months
so
away from
excited.
getting this game in your hands, and we can't wait. Mafia: The Old Country is an origin story for the Mafia
looks good,
universe,
dude.
And as such, it's both
Love
a step
these
forward
cars.
and a
Yeah.
return to the fundamentals of the franchise. The
Great.
heart of Mafia has
Music to my
always been
ears.
Deep, immersive storytelling, and Mafia: The Old Country is no exception. It's a premium experience in the vein of early Mafia games, with a linear narrative set against
I enjoy
stunning,
premium
authentic
experience.
backdrop of 1900 Sicily. That focus has allowed us to deliver
Audio's
classic
low? Okay.
organized crime drama.
We
with
wanna be a little
period
louder
authentic
than
Mafia
them.
rules and traditions of the era. And
How's that,
as you
Chatty
just
Poo?
saw, we've made some exciting gameplay updates. Whether you're using a knife or a gun, using stealth or in a shootout, this is
Heavy
brutal
emphasis on
and
the knife.
grounded in all the best ways. It's all going to pull you in from every angle, pushing
Brutal
the
and
franchise
grounded.
forward in a location and time painstakingly created with the
Oh.
utmost authenticity and detail using Unreal Engine 5. Stick around, because next up is our development team, who have loads of awesome behind-the-scenes insights on how we brought this title to life. And stay
My father
tuned
gave
between now
him
and
an
August,
offer he
as
couldn't
we'll have
refuse.
even more to tell and show. Thanks for joining us on this journey.
Better? Okay.
Yo,
Come in.
mission time. Playing a classic mob movie.
Dude.
Top goal for every Mafia game is to deliver the promise to a player that you're going to play a classic.
And this
mob
franchise
movie.
spans
Mafia the Old
decades. That's why it's so
Country
funny,
is a
too.
linear crime drama
Or
set
it's
against
funny.
a
That's why it's so
beautiful
fun.
Sicilian backdrop.
'Cause
The
one
first
is like
step
the
for us was to make
20s,
sure that we were nailing
two
all
is
of
like
the things that
50s.
players expect from a Mafia game. The quality of its storytelling, how immersive it is, how authentic it is. Previous Mafia games
I haven't
have been
played
set
any
in
of
big
these.
American
They look really
cities.
cool.
And they're
We've
so
taken
easy to
the
get into.
action
The first
and
one
we've
is like
put our
10 hours,
story
less
in
than 10
rural
hours.
Sicily,
I
in the
love
place
those
where the
cars
Mafia
that
began.
they showed
You really
just
feel
there
like
in
you're
the
transported into another
definitive
time.
edition.
It feels really unique and different.
I always wanted to
Really
get one of those
familiar. Players are
bodies,
really gonna
but
enjoy
put a
that.
modern like
Our entry
car
point
inside
for
of it,
making these
like an
crime
electric.
dramas is always the protagonist. We wanted to make sure that our main character,
Seems expensive
Enzo
to do
Favara,
that.
lives up to the standard which we've set in the past, and I hope in
Great
some ways even
lead
exceeds
characters.
All of the men in this room are bound by blood.
Enzo
Bound
grows
by-
up
What a
in
voice, dude.
sulfur mine. He's one of a bunch of children that are sold to the mine owners at this point in history
Dude.
in Sicily.
Fuck.
Their life expectancy is short, and they're essentially seen as disposable.
Enzo turns to crime as a means to make something of himself. The odds are stacked against him. So what
God,
does
I'm
he do?
obsessed with
He
that.
sees
Yeah,
an opportunity
it's so
for
good.
himself
So
to
cool.
gain some status, to gain some respect.
Did you ever have a switchblade or a butterfly knife?
No.
I had a butterfly knife
Swearing
as a
the oath
kid.
is the
I would
chance
play
for him
with
to
it all the
finally be
time.
accepted. He's found a family. It's the thing he's been searching for his entire life, but it comes at a cost.
I think players are in for an emotional roller
like this guy's
coaster.
vibe.
The
Oh,
high
their
stakes
whole vibe.
of
Yeah.
the Mafia life present opportunities for us as storytellers to take players and put
Love
players
that,
through the
shooting
ring,
those
really,
So cool.
in terms
Fire.
of what happens to the character, what happens to them in the game.
You again.
Wait, there are companies that do those outright classic cars?
What makes a
Immersive life or
compelling
death gameplay.
experience
What's the
is
brand?
the mix of the high intensity
me know the
combat,
brand.
cover play, cover shooting, set by these beautiful cinematics that
Oh
make
my God,
what
that
you
kill.
do
Yeah,
in
that
the
shotgun
combat
is
so much more
visceral.
meaningful
Yeah.
because you're fighting for something you really believe in.
This stab that the
Authenticity
enemy
and
does. Oh,
immersion
they're not
are
going to show
key.
you.
And so we wanted to take that philosophy from the storytelling and make sure that it was consistent in the
The,
game.
the car
Whether
and
you
horse
come
stuff
for
looks
that
really
core
fast.
cover
I like the way
combat
they,
shooting
the
experience or
camera.
that white
Yeah.
knuckle driving experience. We have that in.
Yeah, look at
Mafia
that.
the
That's
Old Country.
nuts.
So
It's
sick.
unique.
It's like
Some
perfect
grounding,
camera
there's some
and
deep
motion
storytelling
blur or
moments, and
something.
then
Like,
there's some like high intensity action. And I think that's what makes Mafia missions and the general experience so interesting, is that we're constantly trying to change that
Fish.
roller coaster experience that you're on.
Luca Brasi
Enzo's
sleeps
proving
with the
himself
fishes.
with guns, and we wanted the.
I have a
combat
visceral
to feel
fear
like there
being
was a
thrown into a
scarcity
well.
of resources, so you have to be more tactical
Puts
in
the
way
lotion
that
in
you
the
approach
basket.
combat.
Yeah,
The
I
knife
guess maybe
has
that's
been
where it
an
came
integral
from.
part of gameplay. It's a part of Sicilian culture.
We wanted our gameplay to be immersive, to have a life or death kind of vibe.
Never go up
so
against
when
the
players are in
Sicilian
a
when
knife
death is
duel,
on the line
when they're in a
either.
gunfight, they're genuinely fearing
that
for their
stab, yeah,
lives.
that.
My flesh must burn like
Look
this
at that shotgun, dude.
if I do not keep my oath.
Bringing 1900 Sicily to life for us, it infuses every aspect of the development. It's about the characters, it's
A
about
woman!
the music, it's about the story, it's about the
We
setting,
got there,
it's about
chat.
the vistas,
We
it's about
got
the vehicles, it's
there.
everything.
We got
it
one.
always starts with research, it always starts with immersing ourselves in the subject matter. So whether that's reading every crime book around the Sicilian Mafia, watching all of the movies, even driving the cars, firing the weapons, and then translating that into the game, that's the development experience.
We
The
even sent
animations
some
are
folks
good,
out
yeah.
to Sicily. We were then able to take all of those experiences and try to translate it into an on-screen experience, but also a story.
makes all
And those
pork
two
and
things are
pork.
woven together in a way that I think players are going to really enjoy.
Bravery is not common in this world, and so
The Mafia that we see in Mafia the Old Country is much different than the Mafia that we see in some of the other Mafia games.
Early days.
It's a time-honored tradition steeped in secrecy, and there's this sort of deep honor that we see within the Teresi family and within the characters there.
The characters' relationships with each other, the way they behave, is very much influenced by that setting and that cultural difference.
This is a distinctive experience that I've never played before, and I'm sure that players are going to feel the same.
Mafia the Old Country is our first Unreal 5 game in the studio, and it's
Beautiful.
particularly suited
Oh.
to the Sicilian setting.
We've really been able to push
I just-
the boat out.
I just
want
wanna
to
walk. I just wanna walk there.
Details on everything.
You know, one of the big ones for me is
That's
metahuman.
gorgeous.
You
Holy
have
shit.
characters that have really lifelike expressions, micro details. You know, many times when I'm watching the game, especially on a big screen in 4K, I start to forget that they're characters rendered in an engine. They just look like real characters in a movie. I think that's the level of immersion that we want, and it allows
do it
people,
pretty
I
good.
think, to really suspend their disbelief and go along for the ride.
Enzo is
cars,
beautifully rendered in the game, and
So
he's one of
unhinged.
the most compelling game characters we've seen for a long time.
The thing I'm most excited about from Mafia: The Old Country is finally getting the game in players' hands.
The story pulls
Yes.
you through really quickly.
I'm
and
ready.
at the end, it takes your breath away, and it's one that you're not going to want to spoil for your friends.
The visuals and
Whoa.
storytelling.
But now I know
are
my breath will be taken away
Yeah.
at this end.
Our setting's completely distinctive.
Oh, I like
Our
that
story
theater
is
or whatever.
completely unique. This is a game that you haven't played before. The best crime stories have unforgettable twists, and this game's no exception.
Wonder if we'll come to
Players in for a
America at the
treat.
end.
Welcome, Enzo.
Oh. In a crate. Ship yourself to America.
Cool
August 8th.
art.
Did we know that?
It was
And
leaked.
that's our panel, everyone.
Thanks,
Oh,
Greg.
You boo that. No, it was a boo moment. It was a boo moment. You got to get better at this. Ladies, gentlemen, and NBs, please put your hands together
that's
for,
nice.
of course, the team of development leads from Hangar 13, the people making Mafia: The Old Country.
That's your birthday, Swordfish? Fuck yeah, dude.
Nice. Happy birthday to you.
All right, let's start with first day of school kind of stuff. Who are you and what do you do?
I'm Nick Baines. I'm the studio president at Hangar 13.
It's a big old watch.
I'm Alex Cox. I'm the game director of Mafia: The Old Country.
If someone running the audio, they're turning up the crowd noise when they're not
I'm Tomasz
talking.
Lewicik. I'm the cinematic director.
Of course, I want to dive in to Mafia: The Old Country and talk all about this. It's the new game, it's the hotness, it's that. But we would be remiss if we didn't call out at the very beginning, the little trailer, the tease of this has been 23 years of Mafia
So
games.
sick.
Nick, what does that mean to you?
So
Well,
fucking
it's,
sick.
It's incredible. I think, to work on a franchise and a series of
That
games.
light behind them
is
looks like some
well
kind of
loved by
bizarre
players,
plant.
And
It's
also with the
freaking me
development
out.
of players, like, people join the
Arc
studio
reactor.
to work on this
Yeah.
game, and there's so much passion for it, and the opportunity to take it.
That's a-
forwards
yeah,
to a
quarter
new- whole
century
new
almost.
story
That's
is something
insane.
that's really huge and important to us.
Big part of my childhood.
But
Hair
something
bald,
also that
hair
people
bald.
don't always
Seriously, this
realise
franchise is
is
a big, just a
that
big part of my
people
life.
And they think about Mafia
It's a big part of
3,
my
and they
life,
think
this
about
franchise.
Mafia, the finished edition.
You've,
but
Mafia's been with you for
Definitive
more than
edition.
half of your life.
It's crazy.
I was having dinner with Ben
We just
Starr
saw the
last
box in
night.
the
He was
store, and my
"Oh,
brother was
talk
like,
enough
"Yo,
about Definitive." I'm
Mafia."
like, no one talks enough about Definitive Edition.
I agree. But but the thing is, people don't realise necessarily that Hangar 13 has a lot of people.
I think Sophia
that
was
worked
talking
on
about trying
Mafia
this out
all
the other
way,
day.
Back to the very
Definitive
beginning.
edition.
We've got studios in the
Oh,
UK.
yeah?
It's so short.
and the
It's less than
Czech
10
Republic,
hours.
who,
Oh,
By
wow.
the way, they are hard at work on this game right now, but they've taken a break to tune in to this. So, big shout out to those guys. Shout out to those guys.
Shout out.
Who's tuning in?
The devs.
Oh,
And,
hey.
and so
Nice.
yeah, it's just something that it really is.
I like the
in
old country font.
The DNA of the studio.
Sure.
And I mean, I've been here for like 7
Doesn't look
years.
like Albertus, but kind of.
The two gentlemen to my
What
left
font is
have
that,
been
Cha?
working on the projects for much, much longer, and they have Mafia running through their veins. So
Alex, how long have you been working on the project?
I've been working on Mafia since 2007, so I'm a
Whoa.
relative spring chicken compared
That's
to
when I
some
graduated
of those
college.
who've been around for a little longer than me. But yeah, my first game was my first Mafia game was Mafia 2, which is still very close to my heart, very dear to my heart.
Hell yeah.
Mafia.
And yeah, I mean, I was one of the fans that Nick mentioned. I remember distinctly playing the first Mafia game 23 years ago. So I played it. My first experience was as a player. I fell in love with the franchise
Does not
then.
apply with
It
or
was
times
really, if you guys remember the first Mafia, it was one of the first games that really went hard on a movie-like cinematic experience. It really blew me away at the time. I just left uni. I was a film student, right? So I was really big into the whole idea of games as movies at the time. And so when I finally joined the franchise a few years later, I was immensely excited and still am to be working on something. And I'm very glad that people still want to play this kind of games today. So 18 years of time on the franchise for me, which even after all that time, I've not managed to make my way onto the box art, unlike my friend Thomas here to my left, who is featured on.
You're the box art.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happened.
What do we have an accent? What does
Yeah,
that
it
mean?
happened.
Who's the box art?
Like one of the artists just took the photo.
Oh my
we had
God.
fun, so yeah.
That's me 25 years ago.
Cut to the wide.
Would love to
As
see it.
a young mafioso.
Cut to the wide.
So not so much a
I think they don't have
spring
enough
chicken. You've been
cameras.
around, Tomas.
They're waiting for
Little
the
bit.
cameras to move. There we go.
So yeah, it's been.
Oh, that's
incredible
him? That's so
experience,
No way.
working on
That's
all the
so
Mafia
funny.
titles. And what excites me the most is that everything we learned on the journey,
Sure.
we can now bring and use it on this new origin story and elevate it to next level of the storytelling.
I mean, that's a great transition. So then Nick as president, big highfalutin title, even though you've barely been here a minute.
That's right.
What are you taking from Mafia 1, 2, and 3 when you look at Mafia the Old Country, when you guys set off to do something that is so radically different?
Yeah, well, it's radically different in some ways, and in other ways it's very much still in the same vein as the other games. It has the same DNA. I think when we set out to make a Mafia game, and when we think about what a Mafia game is, we really identify, what the DNA of that
does look
experience
kinda like
is,
Jeff
and there's
Bridges in
certain
Iron
pillars
Man.
that we look at.
Obadiah
Stone.
Stone.
Obadiah
We want to feature
Built
or
this
how
in a
we're gonna
cave with a box
influence
of
the
scrap.
story. So, for example, historical Pulp Fiction.
Setting is a
social
main
worlds,
character.
organised crime,
That's what I say.
Gifted
Hell yeah.
anti-heroes. setting
Themes
is
of
a main
power.
character,
Pulp Fiction, it's
themes
not.
of power. I think if you played other Mafia games, you'll recognise all of those things as really key elements of them. I think all of those are definitely true in all the games. So when we look at
Gifted
what's next, we look
anti-heroes.
back to this and we think
Anti-heroes.
Such
how
good
does what we're
stories.
making now fit in with those and deliver the kind of Mafia experience the players want and that we want to make.
So then let's move on. Let's talk about Mafia the Old Country. Everybody's excited for it. I think what immediately jumps off at me, right, as a fan is, okay, it's a prequel. It's a new location. It seems like a new tone. Am I wrong about that, Alex? I'm going off of what I've seen here.
Well, the tone is, the tone is a little different to the other games, of course, but the setting is different to the other games. So that's the reason why the tone feels a little different. It's more adventure.
Player
it's got
pass
kind of
on
adventure
Mafia
vibe to it.
3,
You
yes,
saw in the
chat.
video there.
What happened?
Player
riding
pass
through the
Mafia 3.
countryside,
Oh,
chasing that car, for
it's
example, from
worth
the
it.
trailer.
A little long on the tooth. A little. Like I said, it kind of wears out its welcome, but the story and everything's way worth it.
1900 Sicilian setting. We're not
And
in
it's
a city
fun.
anymore,
It's
like the
we're
previous,
swimming.
like the Mafia trilogy
Yeah,
titles.
okay.
Yeah.
We're out
If
in
you
the
love 1 and
countryside.
2, give
we
3 a
are in a
shot.
time before Tommy guns and such like, right? So we're in a
I'm glad they-
Been on this one. It's first in the series.
Yeah, I would start with Definitive Edition for sure. The first one.
So that's kind of like infused all aspects of the design and the creative
Pretty cool.
direction. And also, this is an origin story. We've gone back to the start of the timeline of the franchise story. We're still in the Mafia universe, but we've gone back a little bit of time to right to the very beginnings. But also not just the beginning of that story, but the story of organized crime. We all have a good idea, I think, of like what the American Mafia looks like from films and TV shows. Probably less of a clear idea about what the Sicilian Mafia is or what that meant, but that is the start of it all. Sure. They invented the term, So
Godfather Part 2.
and that's what our story's about. Here. It's going back to the start there, exploring what caused the Sicilian Mafia to sort of originate in the first place.
Wait, you drank
and,
scotch during a
set the
Mafia
course for
stream,
what happens
Jimmy?
next later in the Mafia story.
You drank scotch
Thomas, I
during a
think,
Mafia stream one time?
Looking at
Did
the
I?
trailer, the
That's what
gameplay,
Chad
and
said.
of course
That's
the
badass.
stuff, what really
He
pops
doesn't remember.
is
Yeah, I
the
think because I
performance.
definitely did a full
Obviously,
playthrough
when
of
we get on
Definitive.
sticks, it'll be a different feeling. Nobody's getting on mouse and keyboard. When we get on sticks, it'll be a different feeling. Oh, there's an undercurrent of a boo there. Talk to me about what
The
it
PC
was
version of Mafia 1
approaching
was
casting
so
for this. How do you
superior
go and
Oh,
do
really?
something that's
Compared,
period
yeah,
piece,
like
but it's
when
being
Mafia
done
2
in
came out, the
modern times?
gap
What
was
was that like?
shorter.
We had a very strong
But,
casting team.
Yeah,
behind us to
Mafia
help
1
us to
PC was
filter down,
way superior.
all the candidates to final selection. We spent over like 2 months interviewing all the talents, having the calls to making sure that we are selecting the best possible fit for each of the role.
Was
I
it
have
an
to say that
Isla
we are
scotch? That would be
really
fun.
lucky that we ended up with our
Those are
first
my
choices
favorite.
for each of
Shout
the
out to
role,
Lefroy.
the main character. Every game is
Although my friends
very
like
unique.
Talisker,
Every
I gotta
Mafia
try
game
that.
is very unique, and it's in a big part due to the cast and especially to the lead. So casting Enzo was very critical to us.
Enzo.
We were looking for someone who can embody the specific
big.
Enzo's journey and
Enzo.
help us to set the distinct tone of the narrative.
Distinct,
And
Mark II.
Authenticity is also a huge part of our project.
The box of scraps.
The box
So
of
casting
scrap.
for 90s Sicily meant that we had to pay close attention to all the details, nuances, even in the dialogues. So we hired a dialogue coach who helped us to and actors to mentor and make sure that all the dialogues were feeling the natural and authentic to this period.
Awesome. Alex, piggybacking off
Love
of that,
this
we're
guy's
talking about
vibe.
cast, we're talking about
Yeah.
how close they have to work together because, of course, the Mafia is all about family.
Will anyone
What
get
is
through
the
either of
family
these
in
water
this narrative?
bottles?
What are we getting
No.
into?
Yeah, it's a good question because, like, you know, all
They
of
won't
these
even be
crime
touched.
I think
stories, you know,
two of them
it's
have been
about
touched
family in
so
some way,
far.
a
Two of them
crime
are
family,
slightly
but
down
also
from default.
family as it means to most of us, right?
His
The
are
people you love
normal.
and care about. And the drama in most crime stories is about that, isn't it? Like the difference in the you know, between those two
Drama.
types of families and the compromises, the decisions that the characters have to make at the center of the story to trade off between those two things. In our story, Enzo begins the story. He has no
Cutscene guy
family.
is a
He's an orphan.
unit, for
He grows
sure.
up in a sulfur mine in a very terrible environment. When he
Sulfur
finally
mine.
finds
That is so
his way
intense.
into the Teresi crime family,
Mining
he
seems
finds a
awful
sense of belonging,
regardless,
something he's
but
been
mining
looking for all
something
the
that
time.
stinks.
But then it's about how much. But then, you know, he's not quite sure what he wants. He wants a sense of belonging. He wants to fit in somewhere. A gang seems to offer him that kind of that environment. But then he also has some, other inclinations as to what he might want from his life. So, what's he prepared to sacrifice for his family? I mean, that's a big question around the whole story.
Everything.
In Mafia, the old country. You're a tough one to crack, Alex. All right. My notes apparently say that, of course, the cast members have sent us messages that we are ready to show you. Are you wanting to see
Sick.
cast member messages? PAX these.
I want to see it.
I love a cast member message.
I wanna see it all.
Seems iffy, but everybody else is saying, let's watch them.
Hi, my name is Riccardo Frascari, and I play Enzo Favara in Mafia the Old Country. Enzo is a kid who gets a really hard start in life working in the sulfur mines. But through how his work and his resilience, he earns a chance to redeem himself with the Teresi family.
It's a
That's
good
where he
likeness.
learns the real values
Yeah.
of family and loyalty. Enzo is
I'm endeared.
Caruso. Caruso is an orphan who was sold to slavery when he was a boy, who never knew family. And Teresis give him a chance to be somebody, to belong, and to make something out of himself. Enzo's characteristics are definitely his strength, his loyalty, his resilience, and his determination. He's very determined to find his place in the world and to claim his spot as a free man. His strongest desire is to be a free man and to live his own life as he wants.
Nick, he was very handsome.
Chad is thirsting for Enzo, yeah.
The entire cast is handsome.
Greg is thirsting for him, too.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And before we talk about Enzo a minute, I just want to say, firstly, Ricardo has put in an amazing performance. I think the whole cast are incredible, and I think the casting's been, like Thomas was saying, the casting was incredible for this game, and I genuinely think, you know, we see it in game, and we're like blown away ourselves, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
incredible.
PAX
And
Why are you
also,
just
what's
doing
also
test
cool,
through number
Ricardo is a
3?
really, really nice guy. He actually flew out to our
The PAX
studio in the
spot
Czech
is
Republic about a month
drunk.
ago.
Wow.
And hung out with the team and played the game, and yeah, so he's a top guy as well as being what
top
I think,
guy. I wanna be
is
a
gonna
top guy.
Enzo is one of
You're my
gonna be
top-
next
you're
fan
my
favourite
number
characters.
one guy.
His story
Bob.
is really emotional. You see him going from real rags to riches, but he's, you know, he really starts at the
I
bottom.
liked rags to
Self-made.
Richie.
It's a pretty horrific start.
Richie
to life.
Rich.
Well, that
And,
weird
yeah,
plant
he
is
has
red
some
now.
Does it hold
highs
up?
and some lows
Richie
as he
Rich?
goes
Yeah.
along the story, but I
You
think
know, it's
everyone's
been a
gonna love
minute.
it.
I haven't
really
seen that
do
one
think
since I was
he's up there
a
with the
teen,
best
perhaps.
Mafia main characters.
That's a highfalutin praise. All right,
is.
that's a good list of characters right there.
Hold me to that.
Okay, hold them to it, everybody. Let's see who we have next. This is where you boo. You can boo here. Boo. You're getting it. You're getting it, everybody. And that's our panel. Well, I hope you're happy, everybody. You ruined
I feel
PAX
bad
East.
for this TD, dude. They're
Panel
panicking.
number 3 of the day, and everything dies? Me? I'm not pressing the buttons. I didn't do anything.
I blame Jones.
I blame
Good
Jones.
Lord. All right, let's reboot the thing there. You know what I mean? It's okay, everybody. No. What? Windows need to update.
Hey,
Will there be a boot?
I'm Karina Conti,
A
and I play
woman.
the character of Isabella Torrisi in Mafia: The Old Country.
Isabella.
Is intelligent, courageous, and passionate. While she is born into privilege, she's overcome hardship in life. And I
Nice.
think
What
more
are they
than
rapping?
anything, more than even longing for her father's approval and love, I think she longs to drink deeply of life. I think she longs
Drink
to fulfill her
deeply of
potential.
life.
And
Same,
she's
dude.
frustrated that the male-dominated society into which she was born doesn't allow her to do that. Isabella is a woman born ahead of her time. She is a loving daughter, but she's fiercely independent. And so she longs for freedom from the structures of conservative society and from her father, Don Teresi.
Sick.
She's speaking my language.
Yeah, so sick.
Alex, talk to me about Isabella.
Well, yes. I mean, Isabella is, as Karina
Isabella.
mentioned in the.
Why are you afraid of that microphone?
Huh?
You start here talking to it, and you go, "Wait, I don't need to talk to the microphone, Alex. There's people here."
Is this better?
On
That's
him.
better. That's better. Okay, Isabella, as Karina mentioned in the trailer, is Don Teresi's daughter, and it really comes back to that family thing we were talking about a moment ago. She represents the other side of the family question to Enzo. You know, like, is he going to commit to the crime family, or is there something else that he can commit to, a family more
Batman
conventional
epic
sense, which is going to
crime
be closer to his
saga.
heart? Karina's performance is absolutely incredible.
Much like the
I'm
Batman
looking
epic
forward
crime
to people
saga.
to see her story and Isabella's story as she's playing as they're playing through the game. So yeah, that's another standout performance, I think.
I'm glad they got
Hell.
Yeah, I mean,
Hey, round of applause for real to the PAX techs making it happen.
There you go.
Good job. Yeah, I'll
If you're a
There you
kind
go,
of
there
funny
you
fan,
go.
you know we wouldn't have come back. We would have just walked off. Go get lunch, Kevin.
It's broken.
Before we end the messages, we have one here, the final one from the Don himself. Can we roll that?
Don?
Hi,
Casanova?
my name is Johnny Santiago, and I voiced the character of Bernardo Torrisi in Mafia: The Old Country. Playing Don Torrisi was definitely an honor. He is a very complex and conflicted man with a brutal, animalistic core, which made it so much fun. Is constantly trying to find the right balance of his family, his business, and
I'm sensing
making
that
sure
these games are about
loyalty
family.
is above all things
Definitely.
Bernardo is driven by his legacy and making sure that his family is taken
This guy's got
care
a
of,
mafia-ass
most especially
voice.
his daughter,
Yeah.
and that what he leaves behind for her and the family is better than what he
You
was
come to
given
me
or came into.
on the day of my daughter's
game.
wedding.
So good. And you asked me to commit murder.
You asked me to commit murder.
So
Did he
good.
walk in, Tomas? You're like, well, that's the Don. He sounds like the Don. He looks like the Don. It's the Don.
Johnny, I would just, correct him slightly because he said he's the voice of the Don Teresi. He created the full character, obviously, the full performance.
Nice.
And he did great and awesome job, as you can see. Don Teresi is a patriarch of Teresi's crime family. He's very
Teresi
powerful
crime
and imposing
family.
person who
The Teresi
commands
crime
respect
family.
and expects everyone to follow the mafia code. Don offers Enzo
You know it's called that,
life-changing
right?
opportunities.
What?
However,
The,
this
like,
comes in
the,
price of
Pattinson Batman?
total obedience.
It's
and
the
loyalty
Batman
to him
epic
and
crime
his
saga.
family.
That's what he called it.
I think
You
it's important,
come
obviously,
into
to
my
cast
Batman
characters
epic
were
crime saga.
and all that stuff. But as you guys
And
call
you
out
asked me to
Nick in the
commit
front with
murder.
your pillars and stuff, the setting has to be a character.
I'm just
as
trying to
well, right?
move
So talk to me
drops
about 1900
from the Iceberg
Sicily for the old
Lounge.
country. It's not something you can just go visit. Like, well, you can, but are you? But it's not like it was. Like, how did you go about going back in time to do this?
It's
Going
beautiful.
back in time.
Dude,
Yeah,
love
we did.
these villas.
I think the thing
I love a
with
villa,
Sicily,
dude.
which is
Yeah.
incredible, is
Sicilian
as a setting
villa.
for a mafia game.
I want to live in a villa
It is an
in a place where you don't need to close your
beautiful,
windows,
Yeah, that'd be
the
nice.
countryside is amazing.
where the air is
architecture,
pure.
Is stunning. But it's the birth of organised crime. It's where
And buildings
there's
are different
dark
colors.
underbelly
Imagine
behind
that.
the doors.
Love that.
There's
Everything
bad
is
things happening
beige
in
now.
the shadows. you know, there's nasty people. So
Great.
I think that kind of contrast is really, really memorable. And yeah, I mean, for us, as always with Mafia games, authenticity is really key.
called
So
Europe,
we went out there, we've got
Gotta
a ton
get
of
out of here,
reference.
man.
We really made it as authentic as possible. But to be honest, it's great. There's not that much artistic or creative interpretation required because it is such an amazing, larger-than-life, beautiful environment. So yeah, it's a really, really great setting for this kind of story.
Thomas, what is the research? You guys went there, right? We saw that in some of the videos.
Nick mentioned like the authenticity is a really high priority to us, so the research was very extensive. But the best for us was how to immerse ourselves, was to send the dev team over to Sicily, you know, to walk the streets, to feel the climate, to talk to the people. Eventually, we even talked to the local historians to learn what the life was like back then. What we love
So
on Sicily
awesome.
is the
That's cool, yeah.
contrast between beautiful country of the Sicily and
Dude, going in a cave,
harsh,
bro?
So cool,
life
dude.
conditions the
Look at
people
this
had
vision.
to face back
Yeah.
then. It was even more
Cool to
obvious
just
when
like go to a place that's been
when
around
we
for
went
so
down
long.
to the sulfur
Or, like,
mine
been a
and
city for so
learn
long.
how brutal and dangerous the life was there just to survive. Actually, you were there on the trip, so
Yeah, it's a tough life as a game developer, going to touring around
the
Sicily.
holiday, I was not that lucky.
It was, I mean, the hotel didn't have a spa or anything, but everything else was great. You know, it was great. We get, you know, to really represent the authenticity of the environment. As you say, Thomas, about like creating a game experience that's very immersive, that really transports you back to the time period and particularly to that location. It's very important to actually go and see it for yourself.
Is the setting working with like
There are
the
towns
themes
in
you're trying
Italy
to go
that'll,
with family and all that?
or you can buy a
Absolutely.
house
There's
for
plenty of-
$1.
there's a whole
but
range
you
of
have
stuff
to
there. So
commit
when
to
we went,
remodeling it,
when we
which
went to
can
Sicily,
cost
we
like
visited
$100,000 or
sulfur mines,
$200,000
we
over the
visited,
course of
in
the
the
3
Greek
years that
ruins,
you
we saw
have.
some images there.
So if you're gonna buy a
The
house and you
knife
want to move to Italy,
makers
and you're gonna
people that
spend
fight
200
with
grand
the Sicilian
anyway,
knife
could
fighting,
work.
all kinds of stuff. We ate the food, we spoke to the people, we, you know, learn the swear words and the gestures and all of the other stuff. So there's some kind, you know, so we can translate that into a game experience, which is as authentic as as everyone's
I
expecting.
wonder how
from a
long
Mafia
they were
game.
there.
I understand.
Yeah,
It was
probably a week.
probably a million different things, Alex. But when you go there and you're talking to local historians or
Yeah, you
just
need
people,
you need banging internet
are they
anywhere you're gonna
stoked
live.
when you're like, we're making a video game about here? They're like, oh, is it positive? They're like, eh.
Yeah, everyone was very excited about the idea.
Yeah?
Yep. I'd say so. Yeah, it was great. Like everyone was very enthusiastic about it, and again, I hope particularly players in Sicily. We've got the, you know, we took that a little one stage further as well. Like I think our Italian localized version is actually also in Sicilian dialect.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah,
Oh,
if you
that's
want to kind of
awesome.
like play through in Sicilian for a little bit more of an added
Cool.
vibe.
I like that.
That's there too, which is great, which is really cool. I was playing it last week, and it's it's
Creator's intent.
a different kind of vibe.
You got to play it in Sicilian dialect.
So intense.
Nick, let's pivot to gameplay. Of course, we're all gamers here, right? We love gameplay. That was a big deal to see the gameplay trailer today for the first time. What were you guys trying to get across with the gameplay trailer?
Well, the first thing was to hopefully make it really clear that if you love Mafia, you're going to love Mafia: The Old Country, right? This is classic.
I already love it.
This is classic Mafia gameplay, modernized. It's brought to.
They're honestly too
2025.
close to the mics.
If you like it, if you like Mafia, you're
Yeah,
gonna
I
love
usually
this.
am too, though,
But
so
the
am
other
I.
thing as well was to really show the variety of gameplay as well. The fact that, you know, there's knife fighting now. The combat's much
Knife
more grounded and
fights.
gritty. I hope that came
The,
across.
the
you know,
knife fighting looks great.
Rumblefish.
Big new thing, right? So
Rumblefish,
yeah,
dude.
and the jewels that you
That's
saw
the
with knives. So I
Outsiders
think that
sequel?
this
What's
is
he
familiar.
hinting, bro? What the fuck?
And
Who had
it's,
Rumblefish on their
I think the
bingo
other big
card?
thing really was to
Knife
really
fighting.
give a taste of how this setting gives a new twist on that classic formula. Yeah.
I love that transition. Alex, back on you. Talk to me about combat. We see knife fighting, we see guns. Is it what we exactly expect, or is it a take on it in the Mafia world?
Well, again, we tailored combat to the
Rumblefish
time period
does
and the
sound like an
setting.
indie game
we're talking
studio.
about you know, a time before automatic weapons. So, but also we're talking about
No
an
automatic
environment that's very
weapons, dude.
sparse,
No
it's very
Tommy
rugged.
guns.
And actually, we also another kind of
Not till the end.
angle we wanted to take on the design is kind of
When
to
there's a
channel
time
something
jump.
which was a bit more
In this
from
one?
the original
Guaranteed.
Mafia game, where combat was a little bit more challenging. It was more tactical.
My
With Mafia 3, we
grandfather,
went in a more
Enzo.
combat direction. We wanted
Give
to
me
slightly
this
pare that
knife.
back, make combat feel more.
And now I'm gonna cut off your
dangerous,
nose with
kind
it.
of like having to survive combat
Like he
encounters
would've
rather than just
wanted.
blasting your way through them. So all of those things are really kind of like designed around the setting, and also Enzo's attributes. You know, Enzo as a character,
What's
he is
your
this
favorite Italian
kind of
cuisine?
coiled springs we
Fucking
describe
pasta,
him, a guy that's
bro.
a survivor.
I
He
can't
survived
beat
the
it.
mines.
You can't
so
beat
him kind of like
pasta.
scrabbling around, looting for kind of weapons in combat scenarios, for example, is gives you a good idea about what it's like to kind of like survive through these combat encounters rather than just kind of shoot to win. Yeah. So in addition, I think we also saw again in the videos, but like the knife is quite a significant
They
addition
are
in terms
hyping
of,
this
love
knife,
knife.
dude.
I'm gonna go
we wanted
buy
to
a
make it so
switchblade
it's-
right
it's-
now.
It's kind of a Sicilian tradition, Sicilian knife
They
fighting
are
is very evocative
hyping
of the
it.
time period and of Sicilian gangsters generally. So we
a
wanted
big
to make it so
knife.
that the knife
That is
is
a
more than
large
just a kind of
knife.
a
That is like a
one-shot
six-inch
animation, you know,
fucking
it's
switchblade.
a place
That is
knife. You can choose
intense.
from different knives in the game. Each knife has got different attributes and skills associated with it, so
Dude.
you can kind of
Attributes
like,
and
some knives you can
skills.
throw, some
That's
knives
your
you
like
can,
slip
fight
razor right there.
in other aspects of combat. And then
One
we've got
time my
this knife
uncle came to a
dueling
wedding
mode
and
as
gave
well, which is
everybody
new
a
to the
knife.
game and new to Mafia. So, you know,
And he's,
every
like,
now and
kinda
again, you come up
crazy.
against a kind of a boss
He
character in
dangled me over a
missions, and you have
staircase
kind
as
of
a child
one-on-one kind of
once.
duel to the death with them as well. So
He was off his meds or something. It was really scary. And then I yelled at him. I was like, "You scared
what's
me."
not awesome is that the
I was like
there's no Tommy
4.
guns. And so I would like to come back to that point, Nick.
But yeah,
Thank
he
you
gave
very
everyone
much,
a knife.
Did
and
you
it
ever,
was really
did you ever
fucking
play
weird.
Assassin's Creed? They make shit up all the time. You know what I mean? Here's a wingsuit. Why not? I don't. You know what I mean?
Why
We'll give you a
not?
prototype Tommy gun. But if there are no Tommy guns, Nick, what are we getting into when it comes to firearms? There are guns. We saw them in the trailer.
Here you go.
Absolutely.
That's
the,
you.
the big difference, you know, guns. back
Pistol,
in those
shotguns,
days,
rifles, all
they're
you need.
less forgiving.
I love a
you can't just,
bolt-action
spray
rifle,
shit
dude.
like,
Fucking
Tommy
love
gun as
it.
well. So,
I don't
you know,
like
it's
guns,
revolvers, it's bolt
real
action,
life, but
rifles,
I have
it's,
shot a
they're-
bolt-action rifle. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, it's a much more tactical experience. You've got to really think about what you're doing. You know, you're going to be in cover more. You know,
Come on,
as Alex
grand.
said, really, it's about a feeling of vulnerability, like, you know, really fighting for your life. You know, every bullet counts.
I don't know
you're
if I
gonna
have
be
any
relying on the
Mafia
knife, you're relying
ties.
on your guns, but really, it's down to you. as a
My
player
uncle
how
has
you wanna
done
play.
our entire lineage back
It's
to the year
just a much more
1000,
brutal,
so he
grounded
might know.
experience, I think, than maybe players are used to.
Brutal, grounded experience.
Keep saying the word authenticity.
That's like that tattoo you've got.
That's what it was like.
And I want
Just
to
says
piggyback off that
brutal,
again as we
visceral
continue
experience,
to what we
does it
saw in the
say?
gameplay
I don't
trailer.
know
We
what that
talked about the pillar. We talked about this. We talked about vehicles.
He drank
And
some of
then,
his water.
Tomas,
Oh.
we see vehicles in there, but of course they're far different than the vehicles we've seen before. How do you bring those into this game, make them authentic?
Yeah, the
but make them
Nordic
fun?
Mafia,
Yeah,
the
obviously
German
the cars are
Mafia of
always
1200.
the major feature of our games since the very first one. So we are taking
Hell
them
yeah.
very seriously.
Tell us about that
making
race.
The cars
So
authentic
hard.
Also in the Mafia or the old country. So the research was extensive, and we are doing our best to find the best possible material for our references. We are so lucky that in Czech Republic we found a huge museum having all suitable cars for us.
Yo.
So
the owner
cool.
was so cool that he allowed us.
Oh, they're
not
recording the
only take
audio.
pictures of the cars, but even take them out.
Oh,
and
no.
drive
Oh boy.
so this is first time we were able to hook up the like dozen Microsofts all around Microsoft
So
microphones all around
cool.
the car and capture
That is
all
awesome.
the possible
I
sounds,
love
not
this.
just the engine exhaust, transmission, but all the creaks of the springs and all the metal shifts of the body of the car.
That's so cool. That's
The
really cool.
sounds
Yeah.
of the cars are so rich and authentic that it's amazing.
Yeah,
Let
they're
me
just
stop
light
the
tractors
entire
pretty
panel and
much.
ask, this is something we keep calling out and making a point about it. But to look at you guys, first off, looking like a bunch of goons, but I love it. With all the microphones on these cars and doing all these things, we keep talking about authenticity. Why is that so important? Couldn't we record one car and put the engine on everything and then move on to something else? Why go to this Czech Republic car museum and record each and every one of them 15 different ways?
It's just something we've always done, hasn't it? Since the very first. I don't know.
This is how we
This is
do
what
it.
we do. Like,
Hell
all
yeah.
of the guns get their own recordings, the cars, we do the research and all the costumes and everything. Yeah, it's
Just
like,
being
I love
better
that.
and better.
yeah. I
It's so
mean,
cool
it's
in
always
the
been
first one. The
important for
cars are
franchise to be,
so
you know,
slow,
authentic,
and then you
to be
get
part
like
of
the
our
race car,
kind of,
and
DNA,
it
really
just
part of the
hauls
identity.
ass.
Oh,
It's so
cool.
so liberating.
Yeah, old cars are slow.
Yeah, they're super slow.
These cars could probably go like 40 soaking wet. Like,
And the more genuine
They're
it feels,
heavy.
the more you,
Yeah.
you know, you can really, you know, fall into
when they're
the world,
open air,
and
like
it
they're
feels
crazy.
Like something that is real.
They're
And,
death
You
traps.
can't really fake that. You know, I think you need to try and keep it as true.
God, look at that.
So cool.
Thank
A
you for the
Model T or
diatribe.
something?
You've been nice enough to bring so many slides, and I'm like, you know what? Throw them out. Let's talk for a second.
I love these.
To get back to it and to get back to the cars, Alex, talk to me about driving them. Again, I keep coming back to.
Oh yeah,
they're gonna be
40 will
authentic,
feel
they be
like
fun?
you're going 1,000
Of
miles
course,
an
yeah.
hour.
Like this is so like the car, the
Wait, the
we
game's
got
only
car
$50?
chases, just like previous
Really?
Mafia games, of
That's
course.
what
like,
chat just
it's
said.
part
Old
of the,
Country?
cinematic
That seems
storytelling
nuts.
And part of the
They're giving
gameplay
it away.
experience
Yeah.
of all Mafia games again.
Think of
cars
all the
very important to us.
authenticity.
But this time we're at the dawn of motoring. You know, that's the turning
Mario
point
Kart doesn't have any
between
authenticity,
when,
and that's
you know,
90 fucking
cars were
dollars.
starting to appear in Sicily, so they're
They didn't make
rarer, let's
anything.
say, but the car chases
Oh,
and all
shit.
the car gameplay is
It's
again very similar
blued.
to previous Mafia games, I would say. But with the difference that the vehicles
Mike
themselves
3, I think,
are
is active if you wanna
designed to feel
pop a
like
squat.
cars of the time period.
Ooh.
So kind of got a
Blood's coming in here with real chaotic energy. I like that.
Coming in hot.
He's got some real just got off an airplane energy.
Coming
Now,
in
Nick,
real
of course,
hot.
You called out the other new vehicle.
I know my Norwegian family came from Hell and Trondheim.
Maybe the original
right
vehicle.
west of Hell.
Talk to me about that. Bringing that to market.
Yeah, I see.
Well, we couldn't really set the game in.
Maybe glance at the
Sicily
mixer
without
to see if
horses,
3
and
is
that's the
active.
first
I kept it
thing.
active, I
But it
think,
adds
in
a
case
really
you showed up.
interesting dynamic as you explore the world, because the first thing is, like Alex was saying, cars are pretty new. So a lot of the roads that are in the countryside are actually meant for horses and carts. So as you go along, there's kind of choices of which way you take it, and some are more suited for horses, some cars, but you can choose.
Blood,
Go
so
whichever one you want to.
disruptive.
And it's enjoyable. I think that's the main thing. It's about trying to give more enjoyment as you go from A to B and as you explore the world. It feels great and it looks great.
And you have to crank them
I'm
when they
getting a
break down.
burrito
Right?
after this.
The horses.
No, the cars. You mean the cars.
We could have done that. We could with a tail maybe, but I'm not sure.
No.
Anyway,
I mean, sorry,
There are multiple
yes.
ways to crank
Yeah.
a horse. All right, don't worry about that.
I mean, I did wonder where I was going. So yeah, but no, that's right.
Who, me? Let's get back to
Oh, yeah,
marketing
Sarah? That's
journalism. Tomas, the one thing I think that speaks, whether you've seen the game, you know the game, whatever, you watch that trailer and the game looks really good. Are you prepared to go on record and say this is the best looking Mafia game of all time?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Okay, good.
Whoa! All right.
Give me a little bit more than that. What goes into making it look like this?
All right. Our goal was always to set the benchmark for the cinematic quality with our Mafia games. We wanted the player to feel like they are stepping into and playing the,
game
the
looks
classic
cool,
movie,
Blood.
Looks so good.
in
Nice.
these settings and in this era. So we are creating incredibly detailed environment across the Sicily, from the beautiful
Man, dirt on his
landscapes
face.
down to super detailed architecture.
Who did?
Enzo.
One more feature we are bringing to this Mafia Old Country we didn't have before is the
Yeah.
seamless transition. So we are getting
there's
seamlessly
not
from the
many more
gameplay to the cinematics and back. So all the experience is fluent throughout the whole game.
Experience.
How much is that benefited by or because of Unreal Engine 5? I know you guys have talked a lot about that in some of the videos we've done, but I've got to imagine that's a big part of it.
So, you know, the technology advanced a lot since the first Mafia.
You don't say. 23
You
years.
don't say.
With moving us to Unreal Engine 5, it opens new possibilities we were not able to reach before.
Unreal Engine 5. A lot of people use that one, huh?
We are getting
I'm using it.
incredible. The nanites,
It's great.
Yeah, I
allowing
do.
us
I
to
love it.
Model everything like the environment,
Looks
characters, cars.
Oh, Blood,
and
yeah,
things.
you can get
But
10%
you are
off
losing even
Zenny
sense
glasses
and
using
renaissance
code
of the-
PAX.
And the triangles, polygons.
Huh?
So realistic. The lighting is so real and beautiful.
Eyewear for everyone?
And makes the overall picture so coherent.
Is that
and
a thing we're supposed to be pitching, or is there a thing they're pitching?
No, we're just
metahuman
teasing them.
I just don't know. There's a lot of code.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell we're.
Super
I'm sure we fucked
detailed
something up with
characters.
the sponsored stream.
The-
I'm making 2
how
music
detailed,
videos.
how
One of them's an
precisely we
interactive
can
game
transfer,
in Unreal.
all those perfect
Sick.
performance from the stage to on the screen with all these micro details and on the facial expression that you can feel and read the emotions even without any spoken words.
And I think, you were the one, of course, to call out, because these chuckleheads, they don't care about the performers. You do. That the Dawn, so much more than just the voice. You guys did mocap these folks,
Yes.
right? Have them in there. Why, I don't say authenticity, why does that matter so much? And what does that bring in? Like, what stories do you have from that?
Human performances.
Authenticity. Thank you. It's authenticity, really.
No, but for bringing them in, do you have, like, moments with them? Like, is that what makes you think this story in cinema goes to a different level? Like, what did
Cinema.
do you have stories
Absolute
about them that you
cinema.
love?
Absolute cinema.
Come here, Alex, please.
I mean,
I waited
yeah,
too
I mean,
long,
there's
and now
plenty
my
of course, like, there's
Starbucks
that,
baristas don't get a
moment
tip.
when,
Sorry,
when
Starbucks
the Dawn's,
baristas.
cranking that horse.
You only have like a 6-hour, or like 4-hour window to tip them on the app. It's weird.
I mean,
Greg is a crazy person. He was in Montreal too.
He was?
Yep.
He had a story time this morning.
He was
at, like,
playing before I even came into the room.
He always is, yeah.
And he left before I got
Enzo
done.
and Isabella's first meeting. And obviously that's quite
I didn't even know you were up there
in the
for it.
story, and we were
Hell is
like,
us.
literally myself and Matthew Aiken, who's the lead writer on the game. We had been going back and forward for an hour beforehand, rewriting the script, like still trying to find
Blood is
the right,
huge.
Just the right vibe. They've got like, I don't know, 40 or 50 words in this thing, and we're writing it over
The
and
humor's
over again.
actually very small.
And when they did the scene, it was amazing. Like, everybody was kind of like hushed on the set. I actually got chills
I'm
when I was
5'4".
watching them perform it. And
Like
I'm
Tom
really, really
Cruise.
looking forward to everybody playing that because it's a super cool moment, and again, I think indicative of a lot of the character nuance that we're getting from that
He might be
mocap,
5'6".
process.
That's actually something that.
After a 6-hour flight in the middle seat, my legs feel the hugeness.
Well, our desk is a chevron, so someone sitting here will look a little smaller than me. Or
Oh, that's true.
Gives me a complex.
Really, really, emotional scenes, and maybe in the past you wouldn't have. There's not many words spoken during them, and you wouldn't necessarily get that in the game because the nuances of the face wouldn't be there. But now they are, and now there are moments that are actually unspoken where you look at it and it really hits you. So
The little things that make them
exactly,
human,
the facial
Love the little things.
The authenticity.
Alex, you talked about being on set for those mocap moments, and I totally noticed that I didn't do my
We
due
talked about
diligence.
hairbald, but did all of them have a
beard?
beard?
Mafia, the old country. I mean, the team. How long has this game been gestating? We get to this point. It's so exciting to get out in front of your audience to start showing gameplay. We were joking back there, Nick. I was like, "What did you do since rehearsal?" And you were like, "I've just been looking at gameplay reactions." Because again, I think it's lost on us as gamers because on our end, there's a new game every week. There's something cool happening. It's often lost that, it's been 23 years, but that's 4 games. You know what I mean? How long is this one being worked on? How big of a deal is it for you to be here right now saying, here's our baby?
It's a weird one, actually, because the first pitch for this game, I think I made it about 15 years ago.
do all have
when
beards.
we were talking about the Mafia story at large and the whole idea of telling the story of organized crime through the 20th century, and the idea of going back to the start was there. That was
Greg's
before
tall.
we decided to do the remake of the first game and things like that. That was part of that pitch even then. We started work on this title just after we finished work on Mafia Definitive Edition. So we'd just sort of taken a bath in Mafia. We'd done the other Definitive Editions as well, kind of sort of discovered what was great about the IP and what we really loved about it. And so it's been 4 or 5 years of development, but the first part of that was all on paper, really, story development and concept development. Now actually finally seeing it here and being at the show in particular is like making it very real now. The game's going to come out soon. It's quite exciting.
Congratulations, guys. You know what I mean? August is right around the corner, but I digress, of course. Before then, you have to answer to your community. We, of course, reached out. When I say we, I mean you're amazing. community managers over here from Mafia, the old country. Thank you so much. And said, hey, who's got questions? Well, they've got answers. So we're going to read from this one. Good
Live stream so crisp you can read the show notes.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, holy shit.
You know? Right? Probably. You're bombing these answers.
Get this man a folder.
It's not open world, but that you can explore areas. Can you elaborate on that? And even though the game is narrative driven, will we be able to explore Sicily in more open areas? How interactive will the world be? Community managers, that was more than one question. Thought it was pretty clear, but let's start with that. It's not open world. I saw a buzz about that today, that it was a linear one, you guys said.
Okay, I'll try and answer that question. So I think the thing with this game is, like Alex said, we started this when we came off Mafia Definitive Edition, and we really took a lot of inspiration by how well, that landed with people, and the fact it's a focused story that takes you through.
Yes.
There's a world around you, but really,
I really don't want to have the open world.
These games are made.
Yeah.
For you
Conversation.
to see the story, right? So, so that's very much influenced the way we've created this game. So when you're going through Sicily, when you're playing the game, you're going along a golden path. You're seeing the story unfold in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
But there are things going on around you in the world. There's if you stop and look around, there's people in the fields harvesting crops. There's people going around their day. You can go off the path if you want and explore elsewhere. So it's kind of, there's this beautiful world around you, but that's not our focus. Our focus has been, let's do a real polished gem, which is just something where it is super high quality, AAA storytelling, super high quality gameplay, and that's the focus. But yeah, there is a environment around you if you want to go and look at it, because it looks absolutely incredible. But yeah, we want you to go through that golden path, that main storyline.
I mean, very similar to Mafia 1 and Mafia 2.
Exactly.
I mean, that's like literally the inspiration. We wanted to, we wanted to make a game that was of a similar kind of nature. If you've played those games, if you love those games.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like the right direction
based
on what you were saying.
Yes, good.
On behalf of me, that's what I want out of that. I want that tight mob story. So yeah, that's pretty dope. Ebb Educational 2109. You can think of a better name. What types of missions and heists can players anticipate in Mafia: The Old Country, and how will they reflect the early era of organized crime in Sicily?
So, we tried to encompass a whole range of stuff when we were designing the game. We've got new scenarios that are entirely specific to the kind of things
nobody
that
is
happen
safe.
in
Greg.
Actually, we saw some clips there of a kind of a kidnapping mission, which was very common in that time. Bandits would go and kidnap people and kind of
bandits.
Bandits, that commonly happens in American crime.
How many video games have
but then we've
bandits?
got sort of similar scenarios to other Mafia games.
Half. Many.
Intentional remixes and revisiting of some similar ideas. I mean, it's assassinations, it's killings, it's shootouts, it's all of the kind of the crime scenarios that you can imagine.
They have not showed the collector's edition yet, but I would love it if it was a knife.
Stealth missions.
You just get a knife.
Catacombs and crypts, the kind of stuff that really is.
There'd probably be regulations about that.
Yeah.
Question for me, just off the top of my head here. When we're talking about this, and we're talking about how deep this game is and how many things are going on, the story of this, the horses, the horses. How much, when you look at it and what you guys have right now back at the office, is what you originally envisioned? There's that old adage, right, of like every game's only 60% of the vision. Do you feel like you got above that?
Yeah, I think probably closer to 80%. You never get everything you want, but actually part of our goal here was to sort of design a game that we could deliver. So it was not more development talk now, but really we got most of what we wanted to get in the can. So I think we're pretty satisfied with that.
Okay. And then, final question. Comes from Game Over Greggy as well. Will there be any returning characters or references to the other Mafia games? You have a community here that loves Mafia, right?
Gonna play the game to find that out.
Of protagonists. There's obviously, you're prequeling it, so we're going forward, but there's people who could come back and be are we doing that? Are we having that kind of crossover to make fans get excited?
So we've met some of the main characters today. There are additional characters, of course, in the main cast, and there are some returning characters.
Oh.
I'm not going to spoil who those characters are now.
But how many are there?
Plural.
There's four in-person returning characters. Some of them you're going to have to look quite carefully to find them, but they are there.
One's a baby. I'm calling it. One's a baby.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, one's a baby.
Someone that's an old man in another game is just a kid running around.
Salieri for sure. Also.
No horses. Horsepower.
I just looked it up. Buying a switchblade is not illegal, but transporting a switchblade or having one on federal lands is illegal in California. So we can get switchblades, is what I'm saying. And have knife fights.
They are going to be doing
Knife fight streams coming to Easy Allies.
on level 0
I think there's another distinction between having a switchblade and having a knife.
I didn't look up knife
I've got one
fights.
more
We could
thing
look into
to say
that.
to everyone. The first thing is,
One more
it's
thing.
just 3 months today until the game comes out. So
Today?
we are working
Yeah.
super
Yeah,
hard.
they said August 8, right?
Yeah.
As of today, you can now
That's sooner
pre-order,
than GTA
and
6.
We've got a gift
True.
for you all. Those
Just
of
about
you that are
everything is.
here and watching from home. If you scan this QR
There it
code,
is.
you get a special gift. That knife there, that can be yours. So
Look at that knife.
there. That's your reward for coming along today. So
Laszlo
thank you. And we will
Special.
see you in Sicily on August the 8th.
Everybody, a round of applause, please, for well, hold on. Everybody's taking get your QR code scanned. You're not going to be able to applaud if your QR
Do you want to sign up or log in to get this
How
now?
old is your phone? It's taking, everybody good? All right, round of applause, please, for Hangar 13. Mafia: The Old Country is out August 8th. Have an
Hell
amazing
yeah.
PAX East. We'll see you at the signing, everybody.
Some insightful commentary.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Nice.
Good trailer. Good talks.
That was a good.
We learned about the authenticity.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my
For
god! Oh my god!
sure.
Oh my god, okay. Sorry. Yeah. How do you feel? You're the resident mafioso.
I feel great. I feel great about it. The horses, the cars, the knife focus is really cool.
Knives and family.
Yep.
That's all you need.
The cast looks great. All 3 of the actors that did their little messages, they all seem excellent.
Handsome and beautiful all.
Yeah. So.
Good mafia voices.
Yeah.
But they did performance capture and voice capture. Hopefully they signed some kind of contract so they don't get their likeness in perpetuity.
Yeah, I just want to see the missions. You know, we just saw such quick snippets. Definitely a couple really striking environments I liked, like that shootout.
Isla.
Yeah, we were looking at this.
The shootout in one of the big manors. It looked really cool. But yeah, I just want to see how those missions play out because they are so awesome in the original game. Like 1 and 2 specifically, the missions are so intricate. Not intricate like you're not doing intricate things, just the setup and the story and the atmosphere of it all. Like,
well, and it seemed like just from the brief gameplay footage that you can approach them from a couple of different ways, like going guns blazing or try to stealth it. Like, it seemed like he was stealthing it and then botched the stealth and threw the knife and
knife
shot
throw
the
was really
lantern.
cool.
Like that was really cool. Yeah. Video games, dude.
Yeah. Can't wait.
Riff for 4 more minutes.
4 more minutes.
Mafia. The cars, dude. I love that
cars.
I
Them,
really
like, doing all the
cars.
sounds and
I
stuff.
like classic cars like that, but I love miking things.
Yeah, actually, getting the
And I
sounds
like
of those
that they-
cars
yeah, I
and
like
just
that
the
they-
sounds in general of the era. It's got to be a lot of work to figure out.
Did you see the part when they went to a car museum in Czech Republic? And
No, I didn't see any of it. I just saw. I got the press
they went
release
to a
for the
car museum in the
date.
Czech Republic.
And we're full on
And,
recording.
like, got in like 15, 20 cars and mic'd them all over.
Mm.
Like the metal, the rattling, the exhaust, the engines. It looked really jolly. Like it looked like a fun time. I love the Czech Republic. I've been there once. It was beautiful. Proper
nice.
shout out.
I wonder if there'll be laws as well, because like in Mafia 1, if you speed next to a cop, you can get pulled over.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, or you run a red light or run a stop sign. They really want to immerse you in the world. It's, you
I
know.
suppose you don't want to be breaking laws if
Yeah.
you're a mafioso.
Another thing about it not being open world is
It's an
because
AI game.
usually open world stuff, you're going to like run around and, you know, GTA style, you're going to cause chaos and like do weird things in the open world.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, they want you to, you know, not break any laws really, or not harass NPCs and drive like a maniac.
Nice.
So I like.
But I love to.
I want to see more of that
NPCs and
stuff.
Drive like a maniac. Sophia will love that because she, even in like Forza Horizon 5 or whatever, obeys the traffic
Love
laws.
it, love it.
She'll drive the speed limit and stop at stop signs and stuff. Practicing driving. She had like the wheel set up and everything.
So fun.
I would come in and I'd be like, "What are you doing?" And it's like she's
signaling,
driving a Ferrari at like 40 miles an hour, and I'm like, "Okay,
funny.
it's fun."
That's awesome.
Blood.
Yes.
Are you excited for the family?
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see it. I've never gotten into Mafia stuff.
Me neither. Yeah.
This series or just Mafia stuff in general, but
Have you seen the film Donnie Brasco?
Such a good one.
No.
Oh.
Have you seen the film known as The Godfather?
The Godfather.
I don't know that I actually have. The funny thing is, I think I have a DVD of it that I got in like a white elephant gift, but I don't think I've ever opened it.
What did we have?
Those movies are lived in. That's my review of The Godfather. They feel lived in.
Oh, yeah, they're for real.
Yeah.
Oh, it was... Remember when we had, as a prize on Mysterious Monsters, Disc 3 of Season 1 of Deadwood?
Right.
So funny.
Just Disc 3.
Funny.
Open without a case.
Yeah.
Who took that? Somebody, I think it was like Bruce Green took that or something.
So funny.
Nice.
That sounds right.
Not to spoil a winner.
Hell yeah.
Oh, we've been raided.
Feel good hit. Feel good hit of the
Nice.
summer.
Bad news is we're going offline.
Yeah, we're
now.
about to raid somebody else.
We're about
probably.
to take a lunch break before we come back for our podcast.
Yeah.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock
August is
podcast.
such a great
Damiani will
time
be
for this
available.
Honestly, we should do the podcast at 2 every Thursday. Get us out of here, you know? Yeah, so Mafia looks sick as shit. It looks beautiful visually. There's family. There's knives. There's
A lot of
cars.
knives.
My 3 favorite
And horses.
things. One woman.
Will you stab someone
Yes.
while riding the horse?
Oh,
Like, will you use your
yeah.
knife on horseback? Yeah.
Slit him while you're horsing? I'm sure.
It did look crazy, too. He, like, jumped to one of the cars at one point.
Oh, damn.
Indiana
Jumping?
Jones
I mean, they're
style.
all open top and they don't have seatbelts.
Yeah.
If my information.
And they probably
is
don't
correct.
go above 50.
50.
Stay above
50.
cans.
You're just cans.
All right. That's gonna do it for this stream.
Yes.
Tell them about the podcast again while I go in the other room.
Tell them about the podcast, Bloodworth.
Yeah, so the things that we've been playing we can't talk about on the podcast, so it's going to be more old school. We're going to be, just mostly headlines and stuff.
Old school.
Going to be talking about whatever he
We're
wants
gonna
to
be
talk about with
talking about
GTA
delays.
6. We're going to be talking about Mafia. We're going to be talking about Gears and some of the Nintendo financials that dropped with the projections for Switch 2 sales for the first year-ish, almost year.
Shout out to Gears having multiplayer.
Yeah,
So
that's
cool.
nice that they actually include that in the
So
remaster.
cool.
Yeah, that's actually pretty nice. 120 FPS in multiplayer.
God, the wall bouncing, wall bounce, Nasher shotgun maniacs.
Nashers.
So intense, dude. It's so intense.
Yeah, and in the interim, we're getting lunch, and we're also going to shoot
Lunch.
the Impressions of Doom: The Dark Ages, which will hopefully go up tomorrow. So yeah.
Oh,
It always freaks me out when you tell them what we're gonna shoot because I'm like, we can't talk about that.
It's because I know what we could talk about.
Yeah, Blood actually knows. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for PAX and Caravan for the sponsorship.
so great.
For the stream.
So excited for Mafia.
We're gonna react to more stuff on Saturday.
Yeah.
Warframe for sure, and one other thing I'm not clear on what that is exactly yet, or the timing, because on the schedule it might have shifted, so I'm not sure what's going on.
Okay.
But we'll have to check on that. But we'll be back Saturday for more PAX reactions. Looking forward to that Warframe stuff. Yeah, and we'll be back in 2 hours for our podcast, as we have said.
Repactions? No.
Repactions. All right, everybody. We will see you in 2 hours. Bye-bye.